is Antonio Mejorado. In the previous tutorial, we saw how to use an array, an introduction to an array. And in this tutorial, we will see how to use arrays in functions, because it's going to be better to have just a function to get values from an array, into an array, or to get a function to do something with an array. So yeah, and it's better because we may reuse code in our programs. So let's see something. Before changing this code to have a function, I want you to know that it's better. It's a good discipline instead of having this 5, because we want to use 5 numbers and we define a 4 from 0 to 5 and from 0 to 5 for here. Instead of having that 5, we should define a constant integer value. In our code convention, we have to put I and then capital letters, and then equals is the syntax to define a constant. We want to have a 5. So this is the way you define an integer constant value. I put imax as the name. So in my code, any time I use imax is the same as if I'm using a 5. So that will be better, because if I want to change this 5, I should go in this case to 3 different lines and change the 5 for maybe 20 or something. But in the case that I have, instead of these numbers, I have an imax. So that will be better, because I just need to change this 5, and that will replace that 5 with every imax. Okay, so it will be better. And if I compile this program and I execute it, and I give the numbers like 3, -5, 20, 0, and 12, the program is still running the same. Okay, well, that's it. Now let's define a function to have values from the user. So we will define a function to have values. So previously we saw that if we had a value, if we're having a value from the user, we define a data type like integer or character or double or something. In this case, if we want to get values from the user and store that values into an array, we gotta use a void function. Void the name get values, and in parentheses we will put the parameter. In this case will be the array. So my array is integer I something. I could use IR values or IR anything. Let's suppose that this function was written by someone else, and that someone else put IR numbers. Okay. Well, see, you in the previous in my previous code I put IR value. That was a mistake, because it's not according to our code convention. That has to be IR values. Okay. So that is why you see this change from the previous code. So well, I'm using IR numbers, and I'm putting the curly brackets, and inside I will define imax, because that is the maximum number I want to use in my array. So sorry. So inside I will assign everything to my array IR numbers. So I will copy this code from here to here. Okay. But instead of using IR numbers here, instead of using IR values here, I will use IR numbers. So let's suppose that this function was written by someone else. That someone else used IR numbers, but I defined the range. I was the one that defined the main. I'm using IR values in my main. So if I want to, if I want to get values into my array IR values, I just use get values, parentheses, IR values, okay? Don't get confused, guys, on the semicolon. Don't get confused because here I'm defining an array of IMAX elements, an integer array. I'm calling get values and I'm sending this array IR values. In that definition of a get values, which is void function, I should define the array as integer and I should have the capacity in this case, okay? So that's it. If I compile this program and I run it, I compile the program. Now I'm run it and I put like, I don't know, like 12, well, 20, -3, 5, 6, 12. That's it. There you have my numbers, okay? And it is working, okay? Now, if I want to have another function to display my values, I will use a void function, display values, and use another definition of array. It could be any name. Let's suppose that someone else wrote this and he wrote IR nums, okay? Well, this guy have used this code to display. So I'm copying this from here to here and I'm displaying, but I gotta change because I use R values in the main. I gotta use IR nums in my function display values. Okay, sorry, nums. Okay, so the way we use get display values from the main, it's the same way you use get values. Display values, parentheses, IR values. Okay, so I define the array value, the array name IR values. I use get values with my parameter IR values, and I use display values with the same parameter IR values. So if I compile my program, it compile, and if I run it again, I give 3, -4, 20, 10, -5, that, sorry, -4, you have the same. So it is the same, guys, but it's easier. I mean, it's easier because you will use, I mean, it's not easier in this time, but it will be easier when you have a lot of programs and you want to copy code from one program to another, because you have a get values function to get a values into an array, uh, integer array of numbers, okay? And if you want to display, here you have the function to display, okay? I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.